Gerry Turner has a hard time selecting who gets the final rose during Hometowns week. Hey everyone, this is Berry and welcome back to Shared News. Today we will be recapping the latest episode of The Golden Bachelor Hometown Edition. At the start of the episode, Gerry is excited for Hometowns since family is very important to him. Hometowns will be different because instead of meeting the parents, he will be meeting the children, but that is part of the excitement. The last time he met a family of someone he was about to fall in love with was in 1968, which is when he met Tony's family. This is a critical week. All three women, Faith, Leslie, and Teresa, have said they are falling in love with Gerry. Gerry says it's been so long since he first felt these feelings with his wife that he is in uncharted waters. His feelings with each woman are strong. He only wants to say I love you to one more person in his lifetime. He hopes to sort his feelings out and do the right thing. Gerry arrives in Shrewsbury, New Jersey, first to meet Teresa's family. She runs up to him and they embrace with excitement. Teresa says she misses Gerry. He has strong feelings with her. They have delved into some depth. Now they need to look at how they fit into each other's families. Teresa says it means the world that Gerry will meet her family. Teresa knew from the first moment she met Gerry. Gerry says their one-on-one date was spectacular. She made a great impression on Gerry when he was driving, stressed out, and all Teresa had to do was put her hand on his shoulder. Gerry says it was reassuring and calming. The last time Teresa saw Gerry was when she said she was falling in love with him. She also tells him she has not introduced anyone to her family since her husband passed away. Gerry said it's a big step. We meet Teresa's sister Mary and Charlotte, Teresa's daughter Jen, Jen's husband Matt, and their 3 kids, among other family members. The room fills with excitement right when Gerry and Teresa walk in. Teresa immediately mentions the moment when she walked out of that limo night 1 and had a nude color outfit under her robe and acted like she wore her birthday suit. Gerry said he could only look at her from the chin up. Jen said she is so excited to see her mom today. It is a brand new thing to say her mom is dating someone. Jen was her biggest encourager. Jen says they looked so smitten with each other. She knows her mom would love to get married again. Jen is hopeful. Teresa goes off to the side to chat with her sisters Mary and Charlotte. They both say Gerry is genuine and a warm person. Teresa says he is a wonderful human being and has been hopeful. She felt a connection from the beginning. The sisters could feel it in their body language. Teresa says there are 2 other women involved and she knows he feels strongly about them. She is 70 years old competing with 60-year-olds. Mary and Charlotte say the age is irrelevant and that they seem like the perfect fit. Teresa says her sister's opinion means everything to her. Gerry then sits down for his interrogation with Teresa's grandsons. One of them says it would mean a lot if she gets married since she is lonely. Another grandson says she makes duck lip faces when she takes selfies, which makes Gerry crack up. He calls it precious. Gerry then sits down with Jen. She says she is really happy for the 2 of them. The family has been looking forward to this day. Jen's first question is what Gerry likes about Teresa. Gerry responds by saying the first thing is how she looks at him. She is always leaning in and listening. She is so sweet. Gerry is drawn to her. Jen thinks they are both a genuine, kind couple. Jen then asks Gerry thoughts on both their families living in different places and being established in different places. Gerry says if it's with the right person, they will figure it out. Jen says Teresa is here every day at their house. They are a tight-knit family and it would be challenging. Jen's biggest question is if Gerry is falling in love with her mom. Gerry says he's not even sure he knows what it's like to fall in love again. The last time he felt the depth of this feeling and warmth was in 1968. As he is moving closer and closer to Teresa and feeling that connection, he still doesn't know right now. Gerry then chats with the sisters Charlotte and Mary outside. Gerry says it's been going well. Mary says she's happy to meet him and he seems like a kind person. She says Teresa is the kindest, gentlest, and she wants to enjoy life. Charlotte says she's looking for love and that they are headed towards that direction. Gerry says she is a doll and a darling. There is a special spark there. He says it is hard to describe. Charlotte says he is a genuine man and she says he has brought Teresa happiness. She has found her guy. Mary says she is happy. Mary grabs Gerry's hand and says she feels it for her and that Teresa is on cloud 9. The comments opened up Gerry's eyes that he can possibly be having these feelings of love for Teresa. Now Teresa and her daughter Jen are chatting on the couch. Teresa says she's not going to waste time. She can't afford it. If she feels something, she will say it. She tells Jen she is falling in love with Gerry. One of Teresa's grandsons says that Gerry should be the new Pop-Pop. This was a very sweet moment. Jen gets emotional in her confessional and says this doesn't change the amount of love she had for her dad. It comes time for them to say their goodbyes. Gerry says today was incredible. Teresa's family was extremely welcoming and warm. He would be proud to be part of this family. Teresa and Gerry both go on a date to Seaside Heights. On the Ferris wheel, Teresa says she is in fact in love with Gerry and says she cannot picture her life without him. Gerry says it made him feel very special. They share a kiss as the fireworks go off. Gerry says he has fallen in love again. Gerry says in his confessional he is in love with Teresa. He thinks they can complete each other. Gerry's next stop is to Benton City, Washington, where he is meeting Faith. Gerry says his feelings are becoming deeper with Faith. She is beautiful, smart, and full of love. They give each other a big embrace when Gerry is dropped off. Faith says the city is very rural and sometimes she rides her horse to the grocery store. Faith says she is so excited to meet Gerry and share her life with him. Gerry lives in the country city, not really the country with goats next door. Faith introduces her horse Liberty to Gerry. She feels passionate about horses, kind of like how Gerry feels passionate about pickleball. Gerry says he couldn't take his eyes off of Faith. Gerry hops on the horse and Faith teaches him how to ride. Gerry says he thinks Faith thought this would be out of his element, but Gerry feels good. They sit down for a chat and Faith asks him his thoughts about the lifestyle. Gerry responds by saying he's comfortable with this. Gerry thinks it's more so how they spend time together and where they will spend time together. Faith says she feels a pull to be close with her kids and to be close with her horses. Gerry understands, but isn't sure how they would reconcile that. Faith understands and says she is falling deeper in love with him. Faith and Gerry come to meet her family, which consisted of her friend Joan, Faith's sons Brendan and Nick, and her sister Beth, and her grandkids. Faith says they are a close, tight-knit family. Gerry shares the story of Faith arriving on night 1 on a motorcycle and whipping her hair. Gerry says it was always the look she gave him. Her sister Beth is protective over her. She says it looks like she feels safe. Faith says it's a whole different feeling. Gerry says Faith is beautiful just the way she is. Faith is so smitten. Gerry chats with her sons and Brendan says she falls in love fast and hard. Gerry says it is not easy. You can't make logic out of it, you just gotta go through the process. Gerry looks at it with huge responsibility. Brendan asks if he is in love. Gerry hesitates and says he kinda thinks he is in love. Gerry then chats with Faith's sister Beth. Beth says she is shocked at how her sister is open and invested with Gerry. She is protective of her sister and there are not many people she trusts with her sister's heart. Gerry says Faith brings peace to him. He thinks they want the same thing. Beth gets emotional and says she loves that he has made her safe and hopes he takes it seriously. Gerry says he will. They share a hug. Beth says they seem in love. Gerry seems honest and authentic. She hopes they make an amazing life together. Gerry plays catch with Faith's grandkids, and one of them asks if he will marry her, and Gerry asks if he will be the best man. Gerry and Faith are wrapping up their visit, and as they are about to leave, Gerry and Faith look at each other, whisper to one another, and say they love each other right in front of Faith's family. Everybody is smiling and so happy for the couple. That was a very intimate moment to witness. Gerry says the feeling of love is a lot of confusion for him. Before Gerry drives off, Faith says tomorrow isn't promised, but she will count the minutes till she is with him again. Gerry responds by saying she makes him feel special, and she said it was hard to watch him drive away. Gerry's last stop is in Minneapolis, Minnesota to visit Leslie. They embrace for a hug and say they missed each other. He has seen Leslie the adventurer and wants to see Leslie the matriarch. She tells Gerry the story of her dad passing away at the age of 16. Her brother took over as a father figure. Leslie says Gerry is so different from all the men she has dated. We meet Leslie's older brother Stuart, Leslie's daughter Chloe, sons Eli and Zach, and her grandkids. Leslie says in front of her family that it does bother her that Gerry goes on dates with other women. Chloe and Leslie sit down for a chat. She says she doesn't want her to get hurt. Leslie says it is exciting and scary at the same time. Chloe says it would kill her to see her mom heartbroken. Leslie gets those doubts that she wasn't good enough and that other people are always chosen over her. Chloe says he seems amazing. And Leslie is her best friend and she thinks they are perfect for each other. Gerry sits down with the grandkids and they ask if Gerry and Leslie are in love and a couple. Gerry says it is true. The grandkids say Gerry would fit into the family. Leslie says her kids think Gerry is a great guy. Her children and grandkids are feelers and wear their heart on their sleeves. Gerry sits down with Leslie's older brother Stuart, and he can't help but say it's difficult to know that Gerry is dating other women simultaneously. Gerry says he has tried hard in his life to do positive for people and is put in a position where he has to hurt feelings. Stuart says he is very protective of Leslie and would hate to see her hurt again. Gerry says the connection feels good. Stuart says Gerry is so out of the box that she is used to, but he means it in the best way. Gerry asks for Stuart's blessing and he says he would be happy about them getting married. Gerry says his connection with Leslie is even stronger. Gerry and Leslie leave the family and chat off to the side. Gerry says Leslie is connected to her family, just like Gerry is with his. Leslie says she is in love with Gerry and is crazy about him. She can't imagine her life without him. Gerry says he feels like he is with his person. He tells Leslie that he loves her. Leslie said her heart exploded and she is over the moon, ecstatic and hopeful. As hometown visits conclude, Gerry is confused and terrified. Gerry arrives back at the mansion for the next rose ceremony. Gerry says this will be the most painful rose ceremony. He has no idea how he will decide. Leslie arrives at the mansion and says her hometown could have not gone any better. However, she feels uneasy and nervous. She tells host Jesse Palmer she adores Gerry and is crazy about him. Faith arrives and tells Jesse that she feels nervous and how she told Gerry she loves him. She says the hometown trip was validating. Teresa tells Jesse she was happy and proud to introduce Gerry to her family. She hopes he feels the same as Gerry has not told Teresa that he loves her back. A somber Gerry walks in and he says he has developed a bond and connection with all of the three women. Now families are involved and it makes it that much harder. He reminds himself that this is his journey. He grabs the first rose and gives it to Leslie. I was not expecting this. Gerry grabs the last rose and is overcome with so much emotion that he puts it down and needs to step away. He walks out of the mansion and says he feels like he's about to throw up. Gerry is so distraught, you guys, the most we have ever seen him. He says having to send someone home is gut-wrenching, and this is where the episode ends. Those darn Bachelor producers, they know how to always leave us with a good, juicy cliffhanger. And I gotta be honest, Leslie was not part of my final two prediction, so I'm very surprised she was the first name called. But now watching the episode, having more context, I realized the only person Gerry didn't say I love you to was to Teresa. This makes me think that Faith will get the last rose. At the start of the episode, Gerry mentions how he only wants to say I love you to one more person in his lifetime. Well, now he said it to two people. Just saying. Alright everyone, please share with me your thoughts about how the hometowns went. Everyone had such wholesome interactions with each other. Let me know who your final two predictions are. Do you agree that Teresa might be sent home? Or do you think it's gonna be Faith? But before you go, please like this video and subscribe to our channel so you never miss out on any news updates. I'm your host, Hibba Berry. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.